A helicopter is mysteriously chasing a dog and trying to murder it. Very unclear why this is happening. So this Arctic research team takes in the dog. Everything seems fine. Then suddenly horrible things start happening as the dog mutates into a horrific alien monster. We find out the horrific alien monster is copying the dog, copying the people. No one can trust anyone. It's maybe as basic a premise as you can get for perfect suspense. No one can trust anyone because anyone can be the monster, and really the way that people become the monster is not really that important, I feel like.
Yeah.
So it's an alien that travels in spaceships and can copy at the cellular level and all these things, at least so these details that don't matter, right?
It seems like a horror movie that cuts out all of the fat. We meet the characters, we get to know them as characters, but there wasn't a lot of unnecessary information that distracts from the buildup of suspense. I know you frequently comment on police procedurals where if a personal element comes into the story, it actually detracts from the story. And this film makes a point of dispensing with that, bringing it down just to the suspenseful element.
My God, what the hell happened here? Come on, Doc.
This movie does it in like an extreme way. Like this movie is like a condensed version of Alien, because in Alien 3 you finally get a concept of, oh, maybe the real monster is our fellow human beings, right?
Right.
Like, so the prison inmates attempt this rape, right? And it's, oh, this is horrible. But that's everything that the thing is about, right? So it's the lone person against the horrible alien scenario of Alien, also with the scenario of your fellow human beings are the horrible alien scenario, right? So they're entwined together in this beautiful way where you don't know who's the alien, so maybe your fellow human beings have sinister motives trying to kill you, etc. At the same time, the way that your fellow human beings act in the scenario of being confronted with this, anyone could be an alien, is sort of indistinguishable from the way the alien would act. Right?
Yeah.
So it's this lovely commentary on human nature and how horrific that is, but without using two movies as a premise, right? It's
Right.
just bam, right into it. Just totally concise, parsimonious, delightful.
These are monster movies. Let's talk about creature designs. The creatures are designed by Bob. Is it Rob or Bob Bottin? And everything looks amazing in the movie. I mean, we start off with the dog, and it looks like a dog, and then at some point we see its face split open, and then it turns into just this mess of tentacles, just reaching and absorbing other creatures. And the way these transformations happen looks real. The most notable moment for me was one character is revealed to be a thing, his head falls off, and then
Yeah, the big visual I take away from this movie is when I was little, I used to watch the VHS versions of the original Star Wars trilogy, right? And so when Luke looks and sees his adoptive parents dead, you know, there's this sort of brief shot of a charred skeleton, you know, and I always used to think of that when I was like, that image was very powerful. And here they have a similar thing where you see charred skeleton at the site they're investigating with a split skull where it looks like the skull has somehow been divided in two, and it just seems, I don't know, I guess the contemporary reviews of this movie painted as sort of a stupid gore picture with just kind of like, a bunch of like gross imagery but not a lot of substance. And maybe this is the sort of thing we're talking about, where instead of the artistic faraway shot of the burnt out skeleton that you get in Star Wars, you get this like close-up of this burnt and really mutated corpse, right?
Right.
And yet, I see that and it's just productive, right? You think in your mind like, wow, what? What's going on? And really, I don't know. Every other element of the plot plays into telling you what. It gives you a little introductory bit of suspense that pays off later. I think it's good. It's intentional. I think the early reviews of this movie kind of missed the point.
Yeah. Well, it should be noted that this movie came out at the same time as E.T., and everyone was on the cute little alien craze, so... But yeah, the designs are just horrific, and it reminds me a lot of like a Cronenberg style like body horror, which adds its own element to it, where it's just you're seeing a human body being deformed in a certain way, and that adds its own level of just it disturbs you in that way.
If you wanted to kind of go Freud on this thing and just reduce it to a basic level, it's kind of like this horror of discovering the way this alien reproduces is like through murder and genetic manipulation, all this bizarre shit, and you could just think of like, oh, going through puberty and understanding all of these new facts about the way the human body works.
Right.
It's like horrifying, you know?
This plays on that fear, absolutely. There are a lot of mysteries in this movie, like who was infected when, what happens at the end with the two remaining characters. Yeah, the movie keeps you guessing, and there are a lot of red herrings where you would think, oh, okay, this person is suggesting that this other person is probably a thing, and you go along with it, but you find out, oh, that person was actually the thing. It does it in such a way that you just have no idea what's going to happen next. And that's certainly a criticism I would throw at the newer movie when we get to that. And with this one, you just have no idea who's a thing. And once it's revealed, it pays off in such a great way. And I know you really liked, I love the scene too, where they're doing the blood test to find out who is a thing. And it's so slow and so deliberate that you're just waiting. Okay, is this person a thing? Is this person a thing?
Yeah, I think the blood test scene definitely. Anyone who says that this movie is just about some wacky gore horror show, that this blood test scene completely demolishes that argument, because it's just, even after you've already seen the payoff of they do the blood test and that person was the thing, right? There's another blood test after that. I was fascinated. I was on the edge of my seat. It's intense.
Yes.
Even though you already know what would happen if the blood test proves the person was a thing, it's still just enraptured by this idea of, boy, this next person could also be the thing. It's just, I don't know how they do it.
This is pure nonsense. Doesn't prove a thing.
I thought you'd feel that way, Gary. You were the only one that could have got to that blood. We'll do you last.
I would say this is far and away John Carpenter's best movie. I don't know how many of his movies you've seen, but most of his other films they have like a tongue-in-cheek quality. You know, Escape from New York, Big Trouble in Little China. But this movie, it takes itself serious. It's so unlike many of his other movies, which are entertaining in their own way. It's just I don't know how it was done, and you can see there's so much effort put into the movie. They filmed in really cold warehouses and stuff. That you want to see the characters, the actors' breaths when they speak, and so the cast and crew had to deal with so much in making the movie, and it's one of those things where it's like what you get out of it is what was put into the movie, and it's great. You know, it's a well put together production.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Big Trouble in Little China, and to me that film is almost ambiguous as to how ironic you want to take it. But this movie, I mean, every part. If there's any irony in this movie, it's at a really high level of just like irony of the human condition in general or something, because it is so serious and
Yeah.
intense and real. And I mean, what are you gonna say? Like the monster at the end doesn't look like the perfect monster that exists in real life. Well, maybe.
Yeah.
It looks better than CGI.
Yeah,
I'll tell you.
absolutely.
It's just, I don't know, it's gripping. Maybe it's gross, as the contemporary viewers would have you think. It's a gross out movie. Maybe it is a little bit disgusting, but hey, reality is a little bit disgusting. And
Sure.
it's real in that way.
It's this weird thing of finding a fine line where, in that sense, it's a gross out movie, but you can look at some movies where it's just like, all right, this movie is just being downright tasteless, and there's no point to this. It's like I don't know. Maybe I'll go towards the use a modern example like the Saw movies. It's like, oh, this person's guts all over the floor. That's it. I mean, whereas with this, it actually gets under your skin.
This, for instance. That's not dog. It's imitation. We got to it before it had time to finish.
Finish what?
Finish imitating these dogs.
We're following these characters and maybe to a certain degree being invested in them because we get to know them. I mean, it's a good maybe 30, 40 minutes before we have any idea of what's going on. And all that's doing is it's not so much character building, but it's just getting to know these characters' personalities. It's very similar to Alien in that way, where you don't really know all that much about the characters, but you get a sense of their personalities. Each actor is very distinct, so you're attached in that way. And yeah, it's just put together so perfectly.
You understand the characters being played by the actors so well that when you ask yourself, is this person the thing? It automatically raises the further question of, is the motivation of this perfectly believable human being that the actor is playing, could that motivation be conflated with the motivation of the thing? Is the way that people act under this kind of situation the same way that a thing would act under this kind of situation? Which is kind of a work of genius, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not really pointed out or lampshaded in this
sure.
movie. It just naturally flows through the plot, but it's really there.
There's a great moment in the movie, and it's actually somewhat subtle. After all the characters know what's going on, it's like, all right, we're gonna divide up into twos, and you're gonna search here, and you're gonna search here, and then one of them's like, I don't want to walk around with this guy. He's like, no, I don't want to walk around with this guy, and it's like you can view that as, all right, the characters are human, and they think that person is a thing, or it's a thing, and it knows that other person's also a thing. It wants to walk around with another human. You don't know, and it's. That level of paranoia is what really adds to the intensity of the movie, and I think that's the main point of the story, is that, yeah, you don't know who's bad, and raising that level of paranoia among the characters is what really carries the story along, and it is what gives us that layer of suspense.
I know I'm human. And if you were all these things, then you'd just attack me right now. So some of you are still human. This thing doesn't want to show itself. It wants to hide inside an imitation. It'll fight if it has to. But it's vulnerable out in the open. If it takes us over, then it has no more enemies. Nobody left to kill it. and then it's one.
Yeah, and you have that amazing ending where the last two characters kind of question each other, like, oh, maybe you're the thing, maybe you're the thing, and then the obvious occurs to them, which is, does it really, at this point, does it really matter?
Right.
It does, if you're the thing or I'm the thing, it's over, right?
Yeah.
Maybe none of this matters. The whole way that the movie has been intense and suspenseful about whether you're the thing or I'm the thing, at this extreme point, it doesn't actually matter who is the thing. Like,
Right.
it is over.
Yeah.
The movie is over.
Yeah.
And then it just ends.
Yeah. That's it.
Beautiful.
If you're worried about me,
If we've got any surprises for each other, I don't think we're in much shape to do anything about it.
well, what do we do?
Why don't we just wait here for a little while? See what happens.